When the greatest wide receivers of all time are mentioned, names like Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, and Calvin Johnson are usually the first to come up. They're the icons, the highlight machines, the physical freaks. But what if I told you one of the greatest wide receivers in NFL history wasn't fast, wasn't big, and almost got cut before ever playing a single game? No viral highlights, no flashy personality, no superstar hype, and yet when he retired, he was the greatest statistical wide receiver the league had ever seen. This is the story of Steve Largent, the forgotten GOAT, the most average legend ever. Steve Largent didn't look like a future Hall of Famer. At 5 feet 11 inches, 187 pounds, he didn't have the size to dominate physically, and his speed, a 4.7 40-yard dash. Some scouts even said it was closer to a 4.9. In today's NFL, that's slow. In the 1970s, that was still below average for a wide receiver. He didn't jump out of the gym, he didn't overpower defenders, he didn't outrun secondaries. In a league built on size, strength, and speed, Steve Largent looked completely ordinary. But that's exactly what makes his story so incredible, because what he lacked in physical ability, he made up for with something far more dangerous. Precision, intelligence, and obsession, proving everyone wrong at Tulsa. At the University of Tulsa, Largent started turning heads, not because of his measurables, but because of his production. In 1974 and 1975, he led the entire nation in touchdown receptions. Let that sink in. The slow, undersized receiver was the most productive touchdown scorer in college football, back to back. He wasn't the fastest guy on the field, he wasn't the biggest guy on the field, but he was the most reliable guy on the field. Quarterbacks trusted him, coaches depended on him, defenses couldn't stop him. He became a two-time all-conference selection, and eventually Tulsa honored him by retiring his number 83. But even after all that dominance, NFL scouts still weren't convinced, because back then, and honestly, even today, measurables mattered more than mastery. Draft day disrespect. In the 1976 NFL Draft, Largent was selected in the 4th round, 117th overall. Not terrible, but far from a vote of confidence. This wasn't a future star pick. This was maybe he can make the roster pick. He landed with the Houston Oilers, and things got worse. Head coach Bum Phillips didn't see much in him. In fact, after preseason, he was ready to cut him. Think about that. One of the greatest receivers in NFL history was about to be cut before ever playing a regular season snap. The trade that changed everything. Instead of releasing him outright, the Oilers made a decision that would go down in NFL history. They traded him for an 8th round pick. That's it. No hype, no hesitation, just gone. But the team that took a chance on him, the Seattle Seahawks. At the time, the Seahawks were an expansion team, brand new, still building, still searching for identity. They needed playmakers, and more importantly, someone believed in Steve Largent. Assistant coach Jerry Rome, his former college coach, knew exactly what he could become. That belief changed everything. The birth of YODA. In Seattle, Largent found opportunity, and he didn't waste a second of it. He quickly built chemistry with quarterback Jim Zorn, and almost immediately, he became the Seahawks' go-to weapon. But here's the thing, he still wasn't outrunning defenders. He wasn't out-jumping them. He wasn't overpowering them. He was out-thinking them, out-working them, out-executing them. Teammates and opponents gave him a nickname, YODA, because somehow he always knew where to be, and somehow he always caught the ball. The force was strong with Largent. He was catching passes like a Jedi Knight, the science of perfection. Steve Largent didn't dominate with speed, he dominated with mastery. His training methods were different from everyone else. While others focused on athleticism, Largent focused on precision. He would practice tracking the tip of the football in flight, training his eyes and hands to work together perfectly. He refined his hand-eye coordination to an elite level. He studied film obsessively. He broke down defenders' tendencies. He understood angles, leverage, and timing better than almost anyone. And his roots? Surgical. Every step had purpose. Every cut had timing. Every movement was calculated. Defensive backs used to joke that covering him felt like wearing your shirt backwards. That's how disorienting he was. Because he wasn't reacting to the defense, he was controlling the entire play. Built, not born. There's a big difference between talent and skill. Talent is natural. Skill is built. Steve Largent built his greatness through repetition, through discipline, through obsession. While other players relied on raw athleticism, Largent relied on preparation. And that gave him something most players never achieve: consistency, unreal durability. In a sport as violent as the National Football League, availability is everything. And Largent was almost always available. He missed just 4 games in his first 13 seasons. 4? That's nearly unheard of, especially for a wide receiver constantly taking hits over the middle in an era with far fewer protections. No defenseless receiver rules, no soft coverage, no easy catches. Every reception came with punishment, and yet he kept showing up every week, every season. 13 years of dominance. Largent didn't just have a few good seasons, he was great. Every single year, he led the Seahawks in receiving yards for 13 straight seasons. 13! That's not just consistency, that's dominance. He recorded 8 1,000-yard seasons in an era where passing wasn't nearly as prominent as it is today. And maybe the most impressive stat of all, he caught a pass in 177 consecutive games. That's reliability at a level most players can't even comprehend. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, he was dependable, and that made him unstoppable, the all-time leader. By the time Steve Largent retired in 1989, he wasn't just good, he was the best to ever do it. Statistically, number 1. He retired as the NFL's all-time leader in receptions, 819, receiving yards, 13,089, touchdowns, 100. He was the first player in NFL history to reach 100 receiving touchdowns. Let that sink in. Before all the legends, before the modern passing explosion, there was Steve Largent. He earned 7 Pro Bowls, multiple All-Pro selections, a spot on the NFL All-Decade team, and in 1995, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Respect from the GOAT. Even the greatest to ever do it respected Steve Largent. Jerry Rice, widely considered the greatest wide receiver of all time, studied Largent's game. His route running, his technique, his ability to make impossible catches over bigger defenders. Because Largent didn't just play wide receiver, he elevated the position. He showed that precision could beat power, that intelligence could beat athleticism, that discipline could beat raw talent. Would he dominate today? Now let's talk about it. Could Steve Largent dominate in today's NFL? Absolutely. In fact, he might be even better. Largent played in a run-first era. Passing was secondary, rules favored defenses, hits were harder, and wide receivers paid the price. It was like being inside a pinball machine, today's NFL. Built for players like him, quick routes, timing offenses, spacing concepts. Look at players like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. They thrived without elite speed. Now imagine someone more precise, more durable, and with better hands. That's Steve Largent. Even his speed holds up. Jerry Rice ran in the mid 4.5 to 4.7 range. Terrell Owens ran a 4.63, and Quan Bolden ran around a 4.7. Largent's speed, right in that same conversation. So what separates him? His mind. His preparation, his precision. That's why he's often compared to Tom Brady. Not the most athletic, but the most efficient, the most prepared, the most consistent. Put Steve Largent in today's NFL, and he's not just great, he's rewriting history. Still underrated. Even after all his records were eventually broken, Largent's legacy still stands strong. He's consistently ranked top 10 wide receivers of all time. Top 10 in hands, arguably top 8 ever, top 3 route runners in NFL history. And remember, he retired in 1989. That's decades before today's passing explosion, which makes those rankings even more impressive. Life after football. Most players fade away after retirement. Steve Largent reinvented himself. From helmet and pads to a suit and tie. He served 4 terms in the U.S. Congress, representing Oklahoma, then became CEO of the CTIE. From football to politics to business. The same discipline followed him everywhere. Today he lives a quieter life. Spending time with family, giving back, staying connected to the game, and advocating for former players' health through programs like The Trust. That's legacy beyond football, the final verdict. Steve Largent will never be the loudest name in the GOAT conversation, and he doesn't have the flash, he doesn't have the viral highlights, he doesn't have the larger-than-life persona. But what he does have? Results, production, perfection. He proved that greatness isn't always about speed or size. Sometimes it's about doing everything right over and over again. And if greatness is measured by dominance, consistency, and legacy, then Steve Largent isn't just underrated. He might be the most forgotten GOAT in NFL history. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time on the Gridiron.